Commission, works as a spokesperson for the then opposition party on mining. Now, he's heading a very important organization called the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation. Dr. Tony Obin is my guest. We're discussing everything. He also has interest in sports, promotes grassroots football. All of that and more when we come back. Stay with us.
In a fast-growing urban environment like Accra, you might think that your CCTV or electric fence would prevent crime. Hear the real stories from those who now feel safe like never before with Response One.
We had CCTV and electric fence. We thought we were safe. But when the robbers came in, they cut our fence and they didn't care. I was terrified for my baby's life. The CCTV recorded everything. But Response One monitored alarm system, which is connected to our electric fence, that saved us. The swift response from the alarm system triggered a signal instantly. They dispatched their response team immediately. We now feel safe. Now we truly feel protected.
Don't wait for tragedy to strike. Protect your home with Response One's monitored alarm system and our theft protection guarantee. Immediate response, real protection. Response One, stay connected, stay protected.
Excellent. Be that business owner that stands out and is very productive.
You're so confident. How do you do it?
It starts with Built. Where does your confidence come from? Paperwork made simple. Built takes all the hassle away. Yeah, don't be like her. Built is your all-in-one simplified finance platform. It's your home for invoices, payments, your payroll, and so much more.
Oh, wow.
Grow your business today. Sign up now at built.africa. Download the Built app now.
Welcome back. So tonight my guest is Dr. Anthony Kwesi Obin, but is known as Dr. Tony Obin, who is most remembered in the media for his work at the Chamber of Mines and also at the Minerals Commission. Of course, he is now the CEO of the newly formed Petroleum Hub Development Corporation, which is supposed to drive the agenda in the petroleum. Good evening.
Thank you very much, and good evening to you too.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I can say I think I'm doing well. I was at the Pope's funeral at home.
Is it? You watched it?
Yeah, so I was at the Pope's funeral at home.
Yeah. I like this Pope.
Yeah.
Charismatic, genuine guy.
Yeah.
From South America, really good ambassador for the church.
And his concept of leadership.
Correct.
And the fact that he tried to bring, the poor and marginalized as a central theme in Christianity and Catholicism. I thought that was very.
So you are Catholic?
Very much so. My father used to call me when in his nice time. Yeah. He would call me Saint Anthony of Padua. Yeah, you know that everything is cool.
You know, our Catholic parents name us after saints. Yeah. So I'm very sure. So he's your patron saint.
So that's why I'm a saint.
I'm also a saint.
Yes.
I'm Saint Bernardino of Siena.
Aha.
Saint Anthony of Padua. But you are from, where are you from, by the way?
I'm from Ghana.
I know.
And first Ghana, second Western region, third Daman and Wase Kropon. I mean one tram. So you see, I'm a pure Wasa, in a sense. My father was a chief of Daman.
Is it?
Yes, Daman, where you have the Daman mine.
Wow.
And then I hold a position there as Abakuma Hine or a champion Hine of Daman at the moment.
Wow.
But my mother's side come from the Kropon side. Wase Kropon. One child. Again, that to my mother's side, they also hold a chieftain over there.
Amazing.
So
you are a true blue son of the extractive soil.
Ghana.
Yeah, because you know, Wase Kropong has become emblematic for other reasons, which we'll talk about later. But being a Wasa, and you went to school in Huni Valley.
I went to my second. In fact, I had my primary school at Daman.
Is it?
And then did my secondary at Huni Valley.
Okay.
Did sixth form. You know, in those days, 1 to 5, you do O levels.
Yeah.
And did A level at Takwa Secondary School.
So as for you mining,
I'm a pure.
So Prestia for Prestia Huni Valley.
Yes, Prestia Huni
for
Valley.
1 to 5.
Yes.
And then Takwa for.
Yes, Takwa is I am from for sixth form. And I actually did some of my primary school. You know, in those days, you do form classes and then up to form 4. But I did my form 1 from where I went to the secondary school. So I went to secondary school far earlier.
Like age 11?
11, yeah. So
wow.
There were some people I taught when I finished sixth form who were my mate. So sometimes they didn't know how to respond to me, whether they should say sir or Tony or things like that. But it was exciting.
So it's not surprising that some of your life in public service has been in the extractives because you grew up.
Absolutely.
So you know.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about mining, Galamsey, you know all those things.
Yes.
Because as a child, I'm sure you saw it manifest.
Yes.
Wow.
That's correct.
That's interesting. I will come to Petroleum Hub a bit, but I just wanted some quick thoughts around when you see where your hometown is and what has become of it. Because I was there 2022 the last time. This is after the Apiate. And we went through Ase Kropong, and I saw a lot of mining happening, you know, and in a sense, Ase Kropong has become almost the headquarters of illegal.
You don't want to use what headquarters of any illegal mining. You remember, President Mahama would tell you his story when he said a certain area has become a headquarters. Of course, with a positive sense of illegal mining, he had to. I think he had to pay for it.
Yeah, so let's not go there. But what I saw was a lot of, even close to the roads, there's a lot of mining happening. And I guess it's not surprising to you because you know the history of how this happened. The fact that even it was the Rawlings time that they chose to find a way of formalizing it and all of that. So, but what do you make of the way we've not been able to solve it? Because, I mean, yes, this government is doing something, but it's been an intractable problem, isn't it?
Yes, yes, you're right. I have been intimately involved in mining generally, and small-scale mining has normally attracted my interest. So much as I believe that small-scale mining is good for the country in terms of employment and even the value that it gives to people who live in the area, I have often been saddened by what I see, and by a failure to stop this activity. And obviously, legalizing small-scale mining, the thinking was that that will put paid to unorganized mining. So, you know, I always say that until the colonial masters came, mining by any form, mining by small-scale was not illegal. You could just go and do it, but it was controlled by chiefs. And normally people would not even go and mine. They would go and mine when they have serious debt to clear, or when they were instructed by the chiefs to go and mine. Most of them were farmers. They were tilling the land. So mining was somehow not an activity of even those like Awudia and all those places where mining actually started. It wasn't what they did most of the time. It was when the colonial establishment that actually outlawed mining by
indigenes.
Yes, by Ghanaians. That was the basis of illegal mining, any form of mining that was illegal. However, much as it was outlawed, people were still mining, not to the stage that we see now. I remember in the 80s, people were doing what they called keshe. Keshe was another form of Galamsey. The Galamsey have had different names. And, they were scrapping the surface, and they were not destructive. They were using simple implements like shovels and pickaxe and all that. So its impact on the environment was minimal. But it was growing. It was a growing activity. So in 1979, there was an attempt by the parliament of that time to to actually legalize small-scale mining.
This would be Liman.
Liman's time. But it didn't come off. I think there was a discussion in Parliament and all that. And then in Rawlings' time, President Rawlings' time, when they were still chasing these illegal miners, occasionally they would go, they called it scatter. So when the police were going there or the military was going there, alarm would go, information would go, and there's a scatter, and then you run away. But when they ran and the police left, they would come back and do it. So the government at that time realized that, look, Akpeteshi was at a point in time outlawed. But now when law was made around it and regulated, Akpeteshi is now a very respected drink. Some have even converted it into, or added value into alomo bitters and all those things. So they thought to regularize it would be to also control the consumption and the negative effect of that consumption. So I think the framers of the law at that time realized that let's regularize it so we can control it. So that happened. Now my challenge is, now that it has been regularized and people could go and do, legally go and get your papers and go and do it, this is the time that it's become more destructive. So that is really a challenge.
It is said that the problem is not small scale, small scale. It's more the medium scale, where larger equipment, so chamfan comes in, excavators. So when people were just doing Galamsey, gather and sell, it wasn't that wild.
But that's right.
But it appears that some money came into the middle level. Foreigners got involved, and then it became sort of very, very destructive. Is this correct?
This is partially correct. Between 2004 2006, some people were sent to China to go and study how the Chinese went about with their small-scale mining.
Okay.
I think that was the beginning of the introduction of mechanized mining, mechanized small-scale mining. But by the way, in this country, and that's one of my advocacy, in this country, we don't have medium-scale mining. Even though you have described it rightly, that there is medium-scale going on. But in our categorization, we have small-scale and large-scale. If you look at our laws, there's large-scale, the likes of Goldfields, and then small-scale. So the medium, those who, my hometown, I was a Kroponi, when you drive past the town itself, you see a very huge opening. It cannot be small-scale mining. It's a medium scale. We don't have laws around medium scale for us to regulate it as such. So they will run to small scale and take advantage of the rules and the goodies that surround small scale mining regulations. So I think that is a problem. And so those people came with equipment. They knew that, now you can even mine with a machine called Shangfan, which is more efficient in terms of getting gold. And then
obviously more destructive to the water body.
Precisely. And then also you had all these excavators, which are for me the most destructive of that. They have made production of gold more efficient in quote, but more destructive. That is how come from 2000 on, if you look at the contribution of small scale mining in Ghana, it was such a infinitesimal, very small. But from 2004 thereabout, it started showing up on the graph, and now it produces about 40%, thanks to, and I say thanks in very
inverted commas.
Thanks to the use of trommel, the use of shangfans, the use of excavators and mining in water bodies. We are destroying the environment. We are producing more gold.
That's very problematic.
Yes, so it's a complex problem.
I know you are not a duty bearer in mining, so my objective for this interview is not to grill you on mining, but to the extent that I need to give two premises. Between 2011 and 2014, you were at the Chamber of Mines.
Yes.
And then between 2014 and 2017, you were the Minerals Commissioner. And then in 2024, you were the NDC lead on mining policy.
That's correct.
To that extent, I'll ask you a few questions about mining before I come to Petroleum Hub.
You should have told me you'd be asking me questions about mining.
That's why I'm giving you the premise. It's legitimate.
Okay.
I guess the biggest question is, has the NDC government in 4 months been true to its promise on quelling illegal, destructive mining, based on what you see? And I know the promise was there. Ban new mining activities, amend the mineral and mining law to impose civil punishment, decentralize regulatory bodies. The biggest question is LI 2462 has not been repealed, which was a big thing the NDC said they would do. And as we speak today, 28th April, that law has not been repealed.
Well, I think that the government is on course in the area of small-scale mining, even if you think that it has not been as fast as you expect. But don't forget that this problem has been age-old. It's been here for a very long time. So 4 months certainly is too short a period for you to say that it succeeded in addressing the challenge or not. I am sure that, you see, the LI 2462, I support the idea that it should be repealed, or it should be completely repealed and maybe a new law brought in. But if you read the law very carefully and compare it with the policy that existed before then, the danger, the dagger in that law is the fact that it allows the minister to allow for mining in the forests. You see, in the old policies, it didn't completely ban mining in the forest, but it made it such a difficult enterprise. If you wanted to mine in the forest, for instance, and in the country, there were only few mining companies that had concessions to mine in the forest, notably Chirano. And even with Chirano, there were clear requirements of what to do to get the concession first and foremost. And secondly, even in the actual mining, you can mine in the forest which has been given to you, but you cannot do anything. All your processing equipment and all that must be outside the forest. And you were required to pay beyond the regular, the royalties and all that. So there was such an eye on that. There was a special committee that looked at those who were mining in the forest.
All right.
So now to make an omnibus statement that the minister can now grant the license or permit for people to mine in the forest. That was the problem. That was the
which was exploited to allow some companies to be giving different licenses.
Precisely.
So the NDC government has said, and I know the Minister for Environment has even been on this show, said that he is initiating a process to amend the LI so that the president's ability to allow mining in the forest reserve is removed. And a lot of people think that's a cop-out because the problem is not the president. The problem is the law allowing the minister to grant the license.
Yes.
So a lot of people think that's double speak because if you you repeal, why are you amending?
Okay, so I don't know much in that line, but if you were to amend that to the point where it was before the law was passed, that is because this law was really the policies at that time that were added on. If that side of the addition were taken, you go back to the status quo before the new law was passed. However, because we said we're going to repeal it, it may have been very simple to say, okay, look, I've repealed it. But of course, you would also have to make another law to replace it, and it will be Parliament's time.
So are you saying that in the absence of the law, do we suffer anything? Is the law sort of, because there are other laws that the Minerals Commission works with, right? Yeah. So if the law is bad and you repeal it, what do you need another law to do?
No. Mining in the forest, you see, not more than 2% of the country would be, of the forest in this country would be allowed to mine.
Okay.
So that 2%, not more than 2%, only 2% in total of our forests would be allowed to mine. But so if those policies there, which did not create any problem, were maintained, we wouldn't have been talking now. But because a law was passed to say that now the minister can grant.
That is the problem.
That's the problem.
Which is why we are asking it
So
to be
if that,
repealed
yeah,
in
well,
its entirety.
I mean that I have no strong opinion.
I
on
actually
that,
want you to say to me that you support the repeal because
No, I support the repeal.
you are one of the most informed
I-
NDC people on mining in Ghana.
I support the repeal
Completely.
Yes, but the problem is that when you repeal,
Yes.
you are likely to make another law or
Yes.
policy to allow some form of mining.
And we can all have that law together. Media, civil society, experts, we can put a law together.
So that my position is that yes, repeal is fine because that's what we said we're going to do.
100%.
So repeal is.
Do you
fine.
think we need
But
a state of emergency in the dealing with Galamsey?
state of emergency? I don't know if we need that, but we should have a way of stopping illegal mining. We have all the arsenals to do that, and I think the government is doing that. I think the minister is strenuously doing that. Sometimes he becomes even emotional about what he's doing because of the gravity of the situation he sees. So I think we have the arsenal, we have the resources to stop, or not to stop, because you are not likely to stop crime 100%, but to reduce it in a way that people can live with. And I think the worst of it all, and I've said it, I wrote about it in 2009, so it's not a new thing. The worst of it all is the involvement of politicians in this business. It becomes so difficult to resolve when you have politicians, some of whom are in very serious positions, very leading positions involved. You cannot successfully push them out. That's how come I think the president at a point in time said Akonta Mining was not doing anything illegal, even though the facts spoke otherwise.
All right.
So I think
Let me ask you my last question on mining. The Damine, because that's your hometown, NDC had been pushing for what they call meaningful local participation and ownership in Ghana's resources. So when the Daman opportunity came for renewal, they initially said they were not going to renew the license, and then there's been some sort of meeting of minds to transition. As an indigenous of Damai, with all the knowledge you have, and based on what NDC says they want to do in terms of their overall vision for mining, do you think that the route that has been chosen is the best route?
I think as a country, and I've said it before, nothing I say now is new. I think we have been operating some side of Goggisberg economy, and in mining, we're still operating post-structural adjustment mining system. Policies were made to fit into the requirement of structural adjustment, and I'm sure you remember that in the 80s when Ghana needed to recover, Ghana's economy was in tatters and everything was helter-skelter, and we needed to, at that time, reset the economy. So we went in for IMF and World Bank monies and all that. So the policies at that time were more structural adjustment. So our mining industry was revitalized largely under structural adjustment. I think we've gone past structural adjustment. So we couldn't still be using the same policies on the structural adjustment now. And that's the way I see it. And so Ghana would have to adjust the way it handles the mineral economy. And I believe that my personal preference has been the model in Botswana. The Botswana model is that the state has interest in the mines, especially, and the state is choosy. It chooses which mine it thinks is going to get better returns, and then invest in it. If I want to go to, they have this Dapswana, which is the main diamond company there. Government has, I think, 51%, and then the private sector has, I think, 49%. If I or 50-50, but I think government has about 51%. Now, government 51% is not freeholding. It's not freehold. It's not like 10% freehold. No, it is your skin is in the pie. Government skin is in the in the game, and that the mine is run professionally. It is not manned by the chairman of a party or the secretary of a party. It is man professionally, even if it means you should hire a human resource from outside the country, they would hire and get the benefit of that. So it is like going to business, doing business, but government being a shareholder and government staying out for the business to run. And so you get the benefit. If you look at, if we had done that, now mining gold, an ounce of gold is selling at over 3,400 or 3,000, getting to 4,000. Some people are predicting that it will soon be 4,000. So you could get the margin, you could get the benefit that comes with it. So I am looking at some situation where government would rather put its skin in the pie, get in big, and then, but not interfere with the management and running of the industry, of the...
So they have a large stake, but private people can run it. Yes. But government will definitely benefit from the profit and all of those.
So that is my model. The model, I mean, you know, I am not...
As against complete nationalization.
You know, nationalization appears not to be a very, somebody would say, romantic word. Nationalization is like taking over because of being... the
resources for your country.
If a local company can run it, why not? If a local company can run it, I have no problem at all. That's what it should do, because that's where the benefit stays here. Now, but where we do not have local companies that can fully run, we can still partner. You know, we are all talking about partnership. You can still partner. Government 50% or 52%, and then some other entity or entities having the rest.
So is this transitional demand deal the way to go? Ghana Goldfields, Ghana and Goldfields.
A lot of thoughts have gone into that. So I'm not sure if the benefit was not seen, there will be any attempt to do that.
You are being cautious.
And I believe, you know, nobody has traveled that line before. So you have to be cautious. And you know, for me, my model would be, yes, government should come in, because you spread the risk too. You spread the risk. If government has let's say, because government want to be at the center of it, 51%, 50-something%, and then you give the other to some people. Yeah.
We'll come back and talk about the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation. We spent the first few minutes talking about mining. Point of view tonight is Dr. Tony Obin, who's the CEO of the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation. We'll get into that when we come back, plus some football. Stay with us.
Remember who we are seeing now. At risk of prostate enlargement. We a member or her 20 ebitimi prostate cancer, 5 bitimi afamu nadia obefamu.
Actually, this is not my fault.
And to wada, entina medi mani Executive Prostate Center.
Executive Prostate Center is a unique medical center where we harmonize in-depth traditional medicine with cutting-edge science and technology to cure, to treat, and to prevent diseases like prostate enlargement, prostate cancer.
Executive Prostate Center. Madame home. Facilities no any professional medical care.
Sisi a bibia clear system no. Ye nro ne so de natural. Into we koso afama ye.
Executive Prostate Center. My cured.
You want to get polytank?
Oh, and you're fine.
Go straight.
Oh, I want to left, right.
That's right.
Ghana na ye wono. So when you do more, and ye data.
Who knows? Abe, na ye.
Me pe polytank ato.
And you think I'm in your bed to be able to never you. Oh, food to be a enjoy you kura.
Akuya bulambo kotoman. Emua.
Like they took my eyes.
Came to me and go to the distributor and you give the original polytank. You hear the sound?
Polytank. Papananka Sankasa.
Do you want a healthy smile?
Are you concerned about your child's dental health? Hi, I'm Tanya from Bethel Dental Clinic, Ghana. We believe in establishing good oral hygiene habits early is essential for your child's long-term dental health. Baby teeth, also called primary teeth or milk teeth, will fall out. and be replaced by permanent teeth starting at around 6 years old. So it's tempting to think that primary teeth are not important, but in reality, those baby teeth are very important. Your child's first dental visit will include a complete exam, cleaning, and a fluoride treatment to protect the teeth. Your dental office should ensure that your child's dental visit is comfortable, gentle, and welcoming. Schedule your first dental visit today and give them the gift of a lifetime of healthy smiles.
Healthy smile.
Welcome back. Tonight, we're talking to Dr. Tony Oben, who is the CEO of the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation, and he's my guest for the show tonight. So, this Petroleum Hub thing seems to have been one of the last-minute things we heard of. Probably was working earlier for the MPP government. I'm not sure, did NDC have a position on it in opposition?
Well, let me say that if you were not sure, it was so were many people who were not sure.
Yes.
In fact, when I was appointed the CEO, a couple of guys, my friends, called me and said, "Oh, congratulations for your appointment." I said, "Do you know anything about the Petroleum Hub?" Actually, I don't know anything about that, but
it sounds like a big thing.
Since there's petroleum around it must be a good thing. So,
wow.
and that's the reason why in recent times we've taken time to try and explain.
Okay.
The
so what is the hub? What are you supposed to do? What's the hub about?
And you asked if NDC had a position on that.
Yeah.
You see, this whole idea of how to use our petroleum resources, not only sending that as crude, not only exporting that in its crude form, has been something that has been discussed by past governments, especially since the discovery of petroleum in commercial quantities in Ghana. However, the last government crystallized the idea. They crystallized the idea to the extent that they passed a law. I think it was the Petroleum Development Corporation, Petroleum Hub Development Corporation Act 2020, Act 1053. Just to establish this concept. So 2021, 22, some infrastructure was established for the office. I mean, people were hired and all that to man the office. So I think, President Mahama has said that he is not going to discontinue good things that have been started by his predecessor. So this is one of the things that President Mahama is demonstrating, that things that are good and that will benefit Ghana will not be discontinued because the previous government started it. But this is what the Petroleum Hub is about. It is an integrated petroleum complex where 4 key activities will be undertaken at an identified location.
Okay.
And this location is Jomoro, which is in the Western Nzema area. Now, the 4 key things that will be done are 2 jetties, just to be able to allow ships, vessels to berth and to take crude and bring, to bring crude and take refined materials, and then to also build 3 refineries. 3 refineries. The third one is establish 5 plants of petrochemical industry. Okay. And then also establish various integrated tanks, storage tanks at a particular area. Now, this I'm sure you are seeing.
We are showing
the image.
So are these the refineries?
Yes. So the image.
All these are Jomoro or different places?
Yes, at Jomoro. It's on 20,000 acre land.
20,000 acres.
Land. Yes, but don't be alarmed. I know that the sound of it is quite alarming.
That's massive.
But don't be alarmed. So all this will be on this land. There will be a whole township, new township, modern township, which will be akin to Rotterdam. I'm sure
the port town in Netherlands.
Yeah, exactly. So Rotterdam or what is this place? Las Palmas.
In Spain.
Yes, Spain. And then also in Singapore. Now these are the areas where, in fact, we have to be bold in this. And the good thing is that it's a private sector-led project. It is not government that is going to find $60 billion to develop all these things. Government is creating the environment, like the free zones, creating the environment for private sector to do this development. And the private sector, it could be local private sector or international private sector, or partnership between local and international private sector. I have been encouraging the local private sector to demonstrate interest. And I mean, I'm sure when Las Palmas was being developed, nobody thought about it. They thought, oh wow, this is that. But eventually, we go to Las Palmas and we are thrilled by what we see. When we go to Rotterdam, we are thrilled. But Rotterdam used to be, I think that place used to be maybe a part of the sea.
But no, whilst this sounds good on paper, a couple of things. Do you need 20,000 acres? Because that means you're going to take people's farmlands, people's potential houses and homes and stuff. That's number one. And you are saying $60 billion or $12 billion?
No, 60 billion in all. In all. If all these activities are brought in, if all these infrastructure, ancillary infrastructure, of all these core infrastructure are built there, it is going to cost 60 billion, roughly. Now, in terms of the land, you are right. I mean, 20,000 acres would be very big. However, out of the 20,000, about 8,000 of it is complete wetland and lagoon. You know, we have 8,000 acres. That is
which is even worse, right? Wetland and lagoon should not be exactly that way.
Exactly. So we've taken that land, so we protect it. It's for
so you're not going to develop on it?
No. So for conservation conservation.
So you're only going to use 12,000?
No, we're going to use less than 12,000.
Okay.
But no, you need to protect that. That government has to protect it anyway.
So by using the hub, you are keeping.
Yes.
But if you build a refinery close to it, isn't that
going
to cause a problem?
No. The refinery will not be built close to it. In fact, there's a conscious effort. I think the EP has done some work already, and we're still working, doing some work on how to conserve those areas. And that's very important, because can you imagine if those areas close to the hub would be allowed, would be just no man's land? People will do anything in those wetlands and lagoons. So the point to be made here is that the wetland and the land for the hub itself will be about 8,000 8,000 hectares. I say hectares, acres. But the rest would be for conservation.
I have more questions for you.
Yeah.
And
then you're talking about compensation for our people. Fortunately, the place that has been identified do not have too many settlement in there.
Okay.
Yes, there's not much settlement in there. In fact, there's one community, a small community called Kablesuazo, Old Kablesuazo, which I use often as a key example, because this Old Kablesuazo is between the beach, the ocean, and then the lagoon. And because of high tides and rising sea levels, when the tides are high, they push the community backwards. And then when it rains, the lagoon also tries to push them backwards. So they are hemmed in, in a way. So they themselves even are yearning to be relocated so that they can join they have some other community, which is Kablesuazo number 2, which is a natural movement to that place. So yes, the 20,000 sound extraordinary, but for the hub of this magnitude, it is only on 8,000,
Yeah.
The rest will be preserved.
My main question is that there's a global push towards green energy. So you mentioned Rotterdam and Las Palmas. That was 50, 60 years ago that they thought of it. Now everybody's talking about green energy. So are we not working against the trend? And will this not become obsolete quite quickly? Because you're talking of refineries, you're talking of, what do you call it, petrochemical industry and all of this. A lot of people are moving. I mean, hydrocarbons have become unsexy.
Yes, but you see, I don't think that we're going to move anytime soon from the use of fossil fuel. I mean, definitely, and it's not even in Africa, especially in Africa.
Is it?
Because yeah, I mean, people are still discovering new oils, and they're going to.
Is there investment appetite? Because BP is now beyond petroleum.
Yeah.
All these big companies
but
deliberately changing the narrative about how they want to produce their power.
But there is a deliberate activity here that I'll tell you. First of all, I mean, I'm sure you heard Trump saying "drill, baby, drill." He's the president of
the U.S.,
the lead country in the world, and he thinks that hydrocarbons will still be useful, and especially for Africa. I think we should not be pushed into a complete dissociation from hydrocarbon. It will take time. Eventually, we'll come there. I'm sure if you followed the electric vehicle consumption, you see that there is a slowing trend. There's a slowing trend because of some inefficiencies. So it doesn't mean that it is going to be like that. But but even at the hub, the policies here are also to complement the green side of our energy. Remember, our supervising ministry is called Energy and Green Transition. So they insist that we should do something green. So all the, for the ancillary activities, all the energy used will be solar. We'll be using solar. We are looking at green hydrogen for power and all that. So it is not like you go in there and then all you do is just use the
Have you had any interest expressed by any private sector investors for this quite ambitious
project?
Yes.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we have a number of them. In fact, there is one consortium that has actually signed a 12 billion. I'm sure that's where that's where you
got the 12 billion.
Yes, you saw the 12 billion in MOU with the hub, with government already sitting there. They are waiting for the land issues to be resolved, and then they would move in. In fact, since I assumed office, I've had a series of interaction with some investors who have shown keen interest in participating in the hub. And don't forget, the petrochemical industry would still be useful to all of us, because you will still have to use some pharmaceuticals that are stocked by hydrocarbons. You still have to use plastics. You cannot ban the use of plastic. Polypropane manufacturing. There are all these things that are there that you would have to use them anyway, and you will have to use the product of gas, for example, to produce some other product.
But to the extent that Ghana is not a major oil exporter, Nigeria is there, Angola is there, why would an investor come and invest 12 billion at Jomoro?
Yes. You see, I have always said that if you go to Switzerland, Switzerland, they don't produce gold, but one of the biggest gold refineries will be found in Switzerland. So you look for your own raw materials to refine. So in the consortium that I spoke to you about, one of them, which is an oil company, very known oil company, says that they want to build a refinery, and that refinery, they are not going to rely. And of course, there will be it's likely to be some government push to have our oil refined in Ghana, especially if you have a modern state-of-the-art refinery. Why would you take oil drilled from here and which will be about 50 to 60 kilometers away from the hub. Why would you want to take it too far away to refine? So you will do it there. And then this company, which is part of the consortium, is saying that they are going to bring their own crude. And don't forget also that a lot of African countries are now finding oil. And because of EFTA, African Free Trade, African Continental Free Trade Agreement, we are able to bring these things without any custom charges. So you produce your petroleum and you want to refine, and location of Ghana, don't forget, we should take advantage of our location.
I see.
We are in the center of the earth. So
yeah, we noticed one of our media colleagues has been appointed corporate affairs head, I think, or something. So MFR Petroleum Hub. So I don't know if you appointed her, but clearly you seem to be getting ready for a takeoff. When were you appointed, by the way?
I think it was just March. I think it was 14th or so March.
Interesting. When we come back, we'll talk about football. Now, what a lot of you may not know is that my guest is the chairman of the local league committee, and at some point he was a member of the Black Stars Management Committee.
I was the chairman of the Black Galaxies.
Which is the local Black Stars. So we'll talk about Ghana football briefly as well. There's a few issues. Commercially, local football doesn't seem to be generating a lot of interest. My Hearts of Oak is not doing very well. He was associated with Midiama at some point in his life.
I'm still. Yes.
We'll talk about soccer when we come back as well. And of course, Liverpool won the English League. What can we learn from them to build Hearts of Oak? He's not happy, but it's his own problem. To make Hearts of Oak to become like Liverpool. Stay with us.
Fire pomudi ni agobi Ghana fu ni age efri say ya your local spices na ya frafra dia ya sankofa natural spice
me dey go me jollof mu ni me still ahodoma e ma ne dance
Stanley, the barbecue they go on.
sankofa natural spices and one you use 100% natural.
Adofo, mamunye huge mistake. Sankofa natural spices.
FDA ejedi nkratu yatu.
Remember who we are seeing now. At risk of prostate enlargement. We a member or her 20 ebitiminya prostate cancer. 5 bitimi afamu na dia obefamu.
Actually, this is not my fault.
And to wada, entina midi maniche Executive Prostate Center.
Executive Prostate Center is a unique medical center where we harmonize in-depth traditional medicine with cutting-edge science and technology to cure, to treat, and to prevent diseases like prostate enlargement, prostate cancer.
Executive Prostate Center. Madame home facilities no any professional medical care.
Sisi a bibia clear our system no. Ye nro ne so de natural. Into we koso afama ye.
Executive Prostate Center. My cured.
Life is a celebration of moments. Big and small.
The sun is scorching, I'm feeling the heat.
With Piva Drink, every moment becomes a refreshing celebration. From the beach to your home, in every corner of your world, Piva Drink adds a burst of refreshment.
Give me Piva cocktail and tangerine.
Celebrate every moment with Piva Drink. Refreshment for every occasion. Piva Drink, a taste you will love.
P for Piva.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back. So my guest has many parts. So as you know, he's worked in the mining sector, both private sector and government, and now he's heading the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation. But football-wise, you've been very deep in Ghana football. So you are the chairman of the local league committee. This is of the FA. or
yes,
of FA, not Galca?
No, it's a domestic league committee.
Is it fair to say our local league is at an all-time low, or am I exaggerating?
If you say all-time low, I would disagree with you, but it's not up. It's not where it should be.
What is it? Lack of investment? Is it the violence occasionally? Why are the stadiums empty? Why are people not going for the games?
Yes, I think we have to do a lot to attract people, because you see, when people go to the stadium, they want to watch football, enjoy themselves, support their darling players and their darling teams. When you go and you don't see that, then it's a problem. And then also, there's lack of investment. You know, in those days when you had House of Folk and Kumasi Asante Kotoko, there was investment, but really the level of investment required was not as this like this, and that is not going. So we need to go in a way that it will attract people going there. I mean, I sometimes look at, let's take the women's football, the Women's Premier League. I have never heard of any woman player, Ghanaian player, being sold for more than $10,000. In fact, I spoke with the Hazakes owner, and you know, she has sold players at $1,000 and all that. I mean, and this man has to buy, has to house young ladies, feed them, do all these things, and make sure that they are out of the. So those who could have potentially gone to the street, they are out of the street. So this man is doing a huge, and people like him, like Muspaka and all those people, they are actually doing a great service to the country.
But even with the male league, we don't have a lot of direct sales anymore.
No.
In the past, you could have players who were that good.
Yes.
But what is the problem?
So I think the problem is that you prepare the player. Once the person can kick football, he start thinking about elsewhere, not really growing through the pipeline to become a great footballer. And of course, the investors, the owners, are also looking at players.
Some people blame the way the FA people own their own clubs, and therefore there's conflict of interest. Then they say, for example, why should the FA chair have a football team, and then some of the people called for the national teams, whether the junior level, local level, or the main level, they are from his team. Some people think that's not good. As part of the reasons why the Starlets have not done well, the Satellites are not doing well, the Black Stars for a long time. I mean,
you see, if the league is not doing well, obviously we are not going to do well at the top. And I don't think we should pin it at one or two persons because they run the club. They also have invested. They are also keeping people out of the harm's way. And so I think there's more to it than just one person being singled out for the entire problem. I believe that we need to invest in football, even if it's at government level. Can you imagine if we were able to provide unemployment benefit? You unemployment benefit of, let's say, 500 cedis a month to the players or to the women players. How relieving would it be for the owners? And so the owners will look for more resources to do other things. Now, even your city TV may not go to the stadium to go and cover the matches, especially if the stadium that they are playing is not attractive enough to attract watchers. People would rather watch Manchester United and then other teams.
Why are you mentioning that?
Manchester United and other teams than go and watch our own club. So it's a complex. It's a combination of complex issues.
I noticed a lot of teams. Okay, when I started watching football, Hearts, Kotoko, Olympics, Okwewu, RTU, Hovo Adep, BA United, Bofo Akwatano. So you could tell where the team was from and where they were playing. There's been lots of new teams in the past 2 decades. I'm not sure that that's good or bad, because I use the word the tribal support, and I use tribal in the best sense that our teams had. If you go to Kwewu, Soccer Mountaineers are playing against Hearts. Now you have a lot of teams that are based in places that don't really necessarily have a big following of football. It's become very, let me get some team, let me sell players.
Yeah,
so the locals are not identifying with the team.
It's become very commercialized.
Correct.
Yes, it's commodified. and you're right. Even in Europe and other places, you have these community teams. Real Madrid.
Yes.
Barcelona.
So you know where they are from.
Manchester United. Liverpool. You know, they are from somewhere. So there is a community attachment to that. That's a natural thing. So if you bring in a team that has no community base, it suffers a bit because you are seen just as a money-making entrepreneur.
But Mediama is great. Mediama has local food. In fact, there are some rivalries in your area. I think Mediama, Bibiani Gold Stars. I think at some point even Karela before they moved, and then Samate. What's the big rivalry in that zone?
You see, there used to be rivalry between Mediama and Karela. That I didn't understand because you know Karela, if you tribalize it, Karela actually it's at Jomoro. Jomoro initially was at Jomoro. The owner was my schoolmate and actually my student as well, even though he was older than me. And then, but may his soul rest in peace. And then Mediama, the owner, comes from the area, but it's in Takwa, of course.
So the Takwa people were supporting Mediama?
Yes, Takwa will support Mediama naturally. And then the Karela, the Nzima will also support
and then Bibiani Gold Stars.
However, some Nzimas were also interested in Mediama because Mediama is an Nzima word that talks about friend, my friend. So or my brother or something like that, my friend, my brother. So somehow that rivalry existed. Now when you go to Samatex, I think you can boast of a lot of supporters for Samatex. When you go to Samra Boy, almost everybody supports Samatex.
So why don't they go to? Do they fill the stadium? They go. So why can't we monetize it to help the team?
Yes, they go. But how much can you collect?
Because there are so many.
How much?
Do they have a proper stadium? What's the best stadium in that area?
Oh, I think Takwa.
What's the capacity? Do you know?
At 20, I think it's 10,000. 10,000.
And
it's not bad.
So if you charge 50 cedis, will they pay? It's too high.
Yes, they will go and watch TV.
So, but if you have a local derby between Mediama and Karela, and you say
then
you
they
will
will go. You know, Kotoko and Mediama, they will go.
Half and Mediama.
You see, people pick, and you know, because in this country there are two clubs that have traditional followings. Even people who support Bibiani Gold Stars,
they still have Kotoko.
They still have Kotoko or Haas. I remember KK Sapo. They came to play in Takwa, and then they scored a goal that I thought was very suspicious. So when
he was at Kotoko at the time,
when he was at Kotoko, I said, KK, you saw that goal. Was it also? Let me think. Were you not happy that Kotoko had beaten Mediama? Meanwhile, as the chairman of Mediama, he knew that I used to
support Kotoko.
So and so those things are there. And
do you think the mining companies, because again, 97 Goldfields. Where they went to AFCON, they went to the Champions League final, Raja Casablanca. Shouldn't we find a way of getting these mining companies to put more money in football?
It shouldn't be mining companies alone.
Just the main companies.
I think companies must come in, but we must prepare ourselves. You see, if you're a club, and the impression is that when you go and play a league, the outcome of the league is already predicted. It's already predicted, and the prediction will come to pass. Then who puts his money behind
the problem.
That? If you have a game where instead of people watching, enjoying, and accepting the outcome, they'd rather go and slap the referee or do
or even kill somebody.
So it makes it. But I think we need to wrap our hands around the challenges and really, because even Ethiopia, their leagues are being watched.
Why didn't you run for FA president? Some people thought you have done a good job. You have experience.
But you don't have to be an FA president to support or to sell your
critical.
idea. But I thought leader, you don't make yourself a leader in this situation. People make you a leader. So if the
opportunity comes, will you be interested in doing it?
I don't know. I haven't thought about that since I left. At a point in time, I thought about it. Remember, I announced I think some 5-6 years ago. I announced, and then I went for. Later on, I said, "Look,
consultation."
Yes, after consultation,
the ways and means was too much.
Yes, after consultations, I saw that let me support those who are in the front line to
I'll do a full interview with you on football one of these days. But I appreciate your time. Thanks. Talking mining, petroleum, and football. I wish you well in the PhDC, and we'll be happy to speak to you again as it develops. We're speaking to Dr. Tony Obin, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Petroleum Hub. We spoke about Galamsey, mining generally, and also football. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
If you set your mind to it, you can do anything. So, is it possible to renovate a typical German half-timbered house